Hello everybody, I'm Kees Boon, and I'm going to be talking about geolocation inference from Multimedia. Outline of my presentation, first I'm going to talk a bit about the problem definition, then I'm going to talk about the approaches taken in the literature, either through the context of multimedia or the content of multimedia that they use to tackle this problem. I'm going to give a quick qualitative overview of the results which are currently in the literature, and then some recommendations about future areas of research. So geolocation inference is given a multimedia document like a video or audio, or even in the case of, for instance, Facebook, a user can be considered a multimedia document. That given just that document, you infer where is it from. So where is it recorded, or where does this person live or go. And the solutions to that can be broadly categorized via the context or the content of the document. Sort of what Madeline was just talking about. You called it external and internal. Same difference. A few examples that are hopefully illustrative of the types of problems and easy things that you can encounter. So, first one. Where is this? Easy question.
New York.
New York, precisely. No one has a problem with it. This is a landmark, very well known. It even has an American flag in it. Very iconic. Photographed very often. So, easy problem to solve. A little bit harder. Where is this? Yeah, that's right here, right? So, but this is actually a bit of a harder problem because we all know where this is, but most people won't know. But still, it has big letters TU Delft on it, and it's a tall building, square. So people who have never been to this campus can probably, with a bit of googling, maybe derive where it is. Next one will be considerably harder. Where is this?
Yeah, cool.
Exactly. And how did you know that? You took a guess. Yeah, exactly. You took a guess. You know, I'm giving this presentation. It kind of looks like a northwestern European city. Looks pretty crappy, probably where he lives. So you use the context of what you know about me to infer where this is from. And it is in fact correct. Yeah, that's my view. You can even see me reflected there in the window on the left. And then this one is actually the hardest. Where is this? Nobody knows. Nobody here watches HBO's Game of Thrones, apparently. Because this is King's Landing, and it's not a real location. It's fantasy. So you have landmarks, but the question of where is this doesn't even make any sense, let alone the answer, because it's not real. So these are sort of the levels of problems you can get from easy to a bit harder to very hard to what does it even mean. So one of the approaches is through the context of the multimedia, and well, we've already had quite a few descriptions about tags. Geotags are just things that are automatically added by, for instance, I took that photo yesterday with my phone and I put on the GPS thing, and it just added a geotag, so-called. But also just user-added descriptions. Another part of context is a user profile, like which Madeline just used. But for instance, if you have like a YouTube account, then you can put in, yeah, this is where I live, or this is where I work, whatever. And then any media that you upload is, yeah, probably from somewhere around there. Of course, comments are ubiquitous today, and many other types of metadata, but they aren't that commonly used for the geo-inference problem. So, how is this context usually used? Well, geotags are of course easy because it's just an automatically added GPS coordinate. Usually in the research they use this for ground truth, but you have to be a bit careful because I checked it in the picture that I took, and actually the geotag said that I was a few streets away from where I live. So yeah, you have to be a bit careful about that, but taken over average over many documents, it's usually a pretty good estimate. So tags, yeah, given a large collection of multimedia documents, you can just put all the tags, you put clustering methods on that, and then given a new document, you can say, well, look, these tags of this query document are very similar to the ones over here, so that's probably a good estimate. In the tags, we had a presentation about that as well. There's quite a lot of ambiguity in there. If a tag says Washington, it might be Washington DC, Washington Post, Washington Monument, Washington State, or George Washington. What does the user mean? Well, you have to find some solutions for that. So usually what they do is given a large collection and say that you know that for a given area certain tags are very frequent, and then you suddenly see a new document of which you're pretty sure that, well, that is this place, but I suddenly see some few other tags, then you guess, well, these probably aren't very relevant, which is a bit of a trade-off, because sometimes you get a very specific tag. For instance, if I were to go over this campus and I were to make pictures and I tag them all TU Delft, and then I go in here and I make a picture and I say EWI building, 10th room of 10th floor, room 230, whatever. That's a very specific tag, but within my collection, it's a bit of an outlier. So you probably remove it. Say, well, it's not very descriptive, but it is very descriptive. So there's a trade-off there. And also a problem is low descriptive tags. If you go to holiday in Russia and you tag everything with Russia, then yeah, Russia's a pretty big place, so it's not going to help very much. The user profiles are also sort of used in well, locating users is a thing that you can do. If you take my Facebook friends, for example, and all of them have indicated where they live, then you can get a pretty good estimate of where I live through some, well, basically a form of weighted average. But of course you can also use the content, well, the most well-known collections under study, obviously video, images, but also text is also a good candidate for geolocation. But yeah, so Twitter particularly is fun because they're very short, easily parsable, but very short messages. Wikipedia often has many articles actually have geolocation coordinates assigned to them, so that gives a good basis for ground truth. And of course Facebook is like this big swathe of data that nobody knows what to do with. Okay, so the visual features. Well, Madeline talked about this as well. So it's a pretty high information channel. So yeah, given a picture, there's a lot of things in there that can give some indication of where it is or even where it isn't. Obviously that picture that I just showed from my apartment obviously wasn't a tropical location. Traditionally in the geolocation literature it's used for landmark identification, and they've gotten pretty good at that. On the visual features they usually train just machine learning classifiers either on some sort of grid, so you take the surface of the earth and you tell them like take like 3 degree by 3 degree grids, and then you classify just on that granularity, and then it's really a traditional classification problem. But if you do it on also on location, so you say Delft or The Hague, that's a bit more specific, and then you can also do on coordinates, which is a lot more difficult because there's essentially infinite amount of coordinates. A problem with the visual feature can be that it can be pretty high variance. That if I took a picture from my window, you can see, well, there's a street, there's some cars, okay? If I turned around, you just saw a wall, and I'm in the same location. So before you can get a good estimate using visual features, you need quite a lot of data. So in that sense, also a lot of areas just aren't covered. Textual features is also quite often used. What they do is just language analysis on the document, and by language analysis is that's not like language like the informal language that we use, but more statistical analysis of the document. But you can also use optical character recognition. For instance, in the picture of this building I showed, it says TU Delft. That's obviously a very good way to extract where something is. For instance, road signs are also very attractive in that sense. But also you have to solve the ambiguity and context problem. That sometimes a text might mention a lot of place names, but it doesn't. It isn't about any particular place. So yeah, a quick overview of the results that come forth from this. Basically, well, there's some more modalities. There's, for instance, audio, but that's quite a lot more difficult because, yeah, unless someone specifically mentions in some audio clip where they are, then yeah, you can just go with ambient sounds. But any modality can get pretty good results on landmarks nowadays. There are even very large databases of just how landmarks look. If you say just for instance, just landmarks in Delft, then they can get almost 100% correct. Giving a query image, they can give you back exactly where it is. The performance on non-landmark areas is increasing, but it's becoming increasingly more problematic to do this on very huge data sets that, for instance, you get from Google Street View, which is of course a very cool thing to have for for this problem, because you get images from all over the world with attached location and orientation coordinates. But it's so huge that given a picture you have no idea where you need to start to look. Obviously there are also multimodal approaches, but the strange thing is that if you get a good estimate using, for example, tags, and then you do a visual thing, then you can get a bit more precision out of that, but not that much, especially given what users actually want. So recommendations and that I sort of came up with, and that are sort of in the future of this area of research, that mostly when they do tag analysis, which is something that was talked about earlier, then it's just, well, we sort of have this vocabulary or sort of have these categories, and then we prune all the tags we don't need. And yeah, the thing is that every study actually redoes this. So it might be a good idea to just have a database like a Wikipedia or something that just shows, look, these are tags that are good and bad, and these are very unique and specific tags that give very specific information that you might otherwise consider just useless because you only have one data point with that tag. Yeah, so that sort of also goes towards tags that are interdependent, that given a document that you... Okay, well, I'm kind of out of time. Google Street View, also pretty awesome, but it's just not tractable. If you do it on one city, you're kind of okay. If you do it on the whole world, that's not that's just not available. But something that might be in the future for that is that Google sort of helps researchers by making it more accessible, like publishing it along with features. So I'm really out of time, so thanks everyone. Questions?